hear her voice, it feels like heaven. But when you hear her story, it feels like hell.
That, and that people allow you to behave a certain way because musicians are expected.
She was the face of California sunshine, that voice behind some of the most iconic songs of the 1980s.
I wait for you and to come around and the my hand, tell me what you feel.
But the smile? That was a mask, because behind the fame, behind the magazine covers and neon lights, was a girl who once cried herself to sleep in a closet while her stepfather smashed bottles in the next room. Her name is Belinda Carlisle. But her real story? That's something most people never hear. What if I told you that the most beautiful voice of a generation came from a place of complete darkness? What really happened to her father? What was she hiding during those wild Go-Gos tours? And how did she survive 3 decades of addiction without the world ever suspecting a thing? Stick around, because what you're about to hear is the kind of story you'll never forget.
Anyway, but I think that part of it is my voice, which is not the best.
And hey, if you love raw, nostalgic stories with a pulse, hit subscribe to RetroWaves. We bring you the legends without the sugarcoating. August 17th, 1958, Hollywood, California. Belinda Jo Carlisle is born, right in the city of dreams. But her life was anything but dreamy. Her mother, Joan, was just 17, a teenager still living with her parents, when she was swept into the arms of an older man, Harold Carlisle, a man who would disappear the moment she told him she was pregnant. But months later, he came back. Not for love, for obligation. They got married, but it was never stable. Joan was quiet, spiritual. Harold was violent and drunk. 3 kids later, he vanished again, this time for good. Belinda was only 6. Now, that's the day her innocence ended. In walked a new man, Walt Kercheski, her stepfather, a promise of stability. That would soon turn into another storm. He was another alcoholic, and the family, now with 7 children, spiraled into poverty. Belinda's world became one of moving vans, cold dinners, and broken doors. The kind of childhood you don't talk about at interviews. But the scars? They never leave. At school, Belinda wore hand-me-downs. Kids called her clumsy, fat, worthless. And while most teenage girls practiced makeup in the mirror, Belinda practiced keeping her siblings quiet during her mom's breakdowns. Still, she tried to blend in. She became a cheerleader, played basketball, even got a job at a Hilton hotel copying documents. But something inside her was already cracking. That crack would soon split wide open. Drugs, sex, lying to survive. She started experimenting with cocaine and developed a dangerous skill, shoplifting, without getting caught. At night, she escaped into Los Angeles, the streets, the clubs, the punk scene. It was dirty, violent, wild, and yet it felt like home, because in that chaos she felt invisible, and to her that was safer than being seen. There was a place, deep in the belly of Hollywood. It was called The Mask, a basement club under a porn theater, covered in graffiti, filled with punks and every kind of drug imaginable. That's where she first saw what she wanted to be. Not a pop princess, a warrior, a front woman, a goddess of punk. In 1978, she got her chance. She and 4 other women started a band. They called themselves the Misfits. In the 2010s, something surprising happened. The world remembered, not just the songs, but the woman. Belinda published a raw, unflinching memoir. It chronicled everything: the trauma, the parties, the overdoses, the shame, the survival. In her own words, "I was broken, but I kept singing." And sing she did. She toured again, sometimes solo, sometimes with the Go-Gos. And in 2011, the band finally got their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. 10 years later, in 2021, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On that stage, the girls who once shared dirty bathrooms and cheap lipstick performed like legends, because they are. And for Belinda, the greatest encore of all came not in music, but in motherhood. Her son, Duke, came out as gay at 14. At first, Belinda didn't know how to react. She had been with women during her wild years, but she saw those moments as rebellion, not identity. Now, watching her son navigate a world still full of judgment, she changed. She learned. She became a proud, vocal LGBTQ+ ally, supporting equal rights, speaking at events, raising money for causes. Because this time, she knew what it meant to stand up for someone who felt different. So who is Belinda Carlisle? Really? She's not just a pop icon, not just a survivor. She is a walking contradiction, the lost child who became a superstar, the wild party girl who became a humanitarian, the rock goddess who nearly lost everything but found something better. Peace, love, a reason to keep singing. If this story moved you, subscribe to RetroWaves, where real stories get told, no filters, just truth. And maybe, just maybe, we'll help you remember who you used to be before the world told you to forget. She was never just the pretty one. She was never just the voice. She was, and still is, Belinda Carlisle.